Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Scenes. For this episode, we're going to start with a small story. In the 19th century, we discovered oil. This changed the face of our civilization. It brought about the Industrial Revolution, it brought about machines that made things more efficient, it made us more mobile, and it was much better than those horse-driven carriages. Fast forward 2 centuries, and now we have something new, a new liquid gold, which is information. And this information, as we usually call, data mining and so on, is something which has become a hot topic these days. And just to talk about this particular hot topic, we are joined by our Director of Data, Antonello Supino. Thank you, Anto, for taking the time to be on the show. How do you feel?
I'm feeling very well. Thanks for asking. I'm energized and it's my honor to be here. Thanks, Charles, for inviting me.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. And we know how busy your schedule is. So let's start.
Sure.
And, I've heard this from the past, being part of, some discussions with the data team and so on. And I've also heard you say this in the past, that data is the new oil. It's the currency of the digital age. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Of course. We are in 2022. It's like a few centuries after the Industrial Revolution. And we are surrounded by many devices, technologies. Data is everywhere. It's embedded in our universe as of today. We have so many sensors, so many usage of them. I would say there is an analogy between data and oil. Both of them, they need to be found, extracted, then refined, and then sold to be able to generate value. Oil, like data, is not simple to use and to put into action. The idea is you want to get more than you pay for, right? As of today, especially in e-businesses, data, it's a life changer. It's a life changer because it helps you to consistently make the right decision. And if you are good at that over the long time, you do things better than your competitors, right? You create a competitive advantage.
Talking a bit more about data, and this is one of the hot topics that we've had, in the recent years, is data privacy. So can you give us like a quick walkthrough in terms of what we do for our users in terms of data privacy itself?
I would say in terms of data privacy, we do a lot. Mm-hmm. But before talking about data privacy, I think we need to take a step back, right? Which is about security. Security is about protecting the data that we collect from our users, defend this data against unauthorized accesses and usage that might be executed by hackers, right? Mm-hmm. Attackers that are outside our company. So that's the number one thing. We make sure that nobody can access this data. This means that we have in place multi-factor authentication, encryption at rest, encryption in transit, and we bulletproof our vault. Then, when we look at the data inside our organization, inside our cloud storage, I would say we start discussing about privacy, right? Who has access to that data? Why somebody is using that data for that specific purpose? We do have some terms and conditions on the website. So I would say that the usage of the data, it's within the consent that we collect from our users. Mm-hmm. Clearly, we have a very large organization. Only some people have the right to see some data for some specific purpose. So we have different set of permissions and privileges. So only some people can see some dashboard, can see some data, and we don't show personal information unless there is a goal or a mean that is clear in the terms and conditions, and we know that it can be done for a genuine purpose. As part of OLX, we worked a lot with the GDPR, and we gained a lot of experience. So probably we are a step ahead of many other companies in the UAE. The UAE, they released a new data privacy law in January 2022. The executive regulation has not been published, but is expected to become effective on the 2nd of July, and we are getting ready for it. Okay. We have in the company a new data privacy director, and I'm working very, very close to her. So rest assured, Charles, that the data that we collect from our users, it's in very good hands, it's protected and used ethically in accordance to our terms and conditions and regulation.
Well, I like that example that you took. Like, we've got everything in a secured vault, which is bulletproof, and only a few people have access to it if it's needed. Just reminds me of a lot of those movie scenes where people say, "Oh, that's classified. You can't get in." You know, and that's good. That's good. You know, and just looking at, you are a person who's seen a lot of data. Let's be honest. Probably we've never probably going to see all of that. Is there any data that you've seen, not necessarily in our company, probably outside, that you've been very impressed about, like how they've seen that data and how they've implemented a business need out of it?
I have 3 examples of how data was used in an impressive way outside our company. One example from the past, one example from the present, one example from the future.
Right.
I would say the one from the past to me is how Google organized the data to implement instant search across the entire internet at the beginning of the 2000s. I'm trying myself to figure it out, how did they do it, right? For the present or near present, one of the most impressive usage, although it was a little bit debated, is the scandal around Cambridge Analytica and Facebook. As a matter of fact, it has been happening for years, for decades, right? The most popular presidential election in multiple countries, even in Europe and the US, the presidential candidate, they hire a data team, and the whole strategy of the campaign is based on data. So data has been used actually to change the fate of an entire country from a political point of view, right? And the example for the future, I think it's about trying to use data to describe or maybe to clone a human, right? Let me explain it.
Okay.
So one of the first step here is about dumping the DNA of a person on a file, right? So if you want to quantify it, the genome of a human is 3.3 gigabytes, large, which is not that much.
That's so small.
Exactly, right? So then we want to go, this is done already, but what's coming next? Imagine you want to download the brain of a person on a file. Right? I think it's going to be possible. Now, it is estimated that the memory of a human is 2.5 terabytes of storage. Right?
Wow.
Which is not that much. I think it's half the size of my hard drive at home. We are working on neural networks, right? Even here at Bayut and dubizzle, we do have a few neural networks we use for image processing, natural language processing. So a neural networks actually can be stored as another file.
Right.
So, and we are getting better, right? Automating a different type of parts of the human behavior. I'm confident that in the future, like in a few years, that will be possible, right? You will have one file with the storage, another file with the neural network, and that will be able to actually reproduce what an entire human can do faster and better. And it's not that far away. I think 20 years from now, it will happen.
Wow, just got into a sci-fi movie now. So let's talk about you. Just for me, just looking at a few Excel sheets and just a few dashboards that we have, I can't take my mind off the data. And for a person who does that day in and day out, how do you take your mind off of it? Like when you go to the grocery store, do you notice that there are some items which are lesser than the other items and
Yes, unfortunately, yes. I do have myself even an Excel sheet when I go on holiday. Everything is pre-planned.
Oh, wow.
I've been told by multiple individuals in a friendly or less friendly way that have some kind of addiction to technology and data. I'm surrounded by it. I do have the biggest email inbox in the company. I have probably 10 more times that storage at home. I have video, each video is like probably 5 gigabytes. I do have, it's very difficult for me to disconnect from data, from technology. So when I have some free time, I try to do something where I can actually disconnect from it, and I'm forced to do it. So I try to do some kind of solitary or social sport where it's difficult for me to reach some kind of technical device. It could, whether it is swimming or paddleboard, scuba diving, everything, you know, where I can disconnect. Cycling, windsurf, where I'm very busy. Yeah, that's where I actually manage to disconnect from technology.
So if I was ever to gift you a technology, I shouldn't give you something that's waterproof. That's a given.
Possibly yes. Otherwise, they will backfire.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. Like everybody has an idol figure, like an idol that they look up to. Is there anybody like that you look up to?
Yeah, sure. Bill Gates.
Okay.
Bill Gates is my idol.
All right.
He built Microsoft and he's a philanthrope. He managed to stay in business for so long, for so many years. If I look at myself, I use Windows. That's what I use most of my day.
I can vouch for that.
I've been using it since version, I think 3.1, or actually, I think version 2. That was my first one. Yeah, so Bill Gates is my idol, and I look up to him. I get inspired.
That's interesting. And you know, this is something that my professor has termed as the big, hairy, audacious goal. So if you had no restrictions in terms of resources, you had no restriction in terms of time, what is it that you want to, you know, do or achieve personally?
I think it would be great if I manage to leave some legacy, whether it is about creating something useful for the community that could be remembered, or create a patent, then get some royalties out of it.
A lot of.
That's mine.
That's nice. And probably 20 years down the line, you'll have, you know, all of those things, and we will have our consciences uploaded, and we'll be having this conversation in the metaverse.
Yes, yes.
All right. Anto, again, thanks a lot for joining us this time.
You're welcome.
And for taking the time to, you know, just go through this entire process of questions and answers. How do you feel? Do you like the show? Do you not like the show? Do you like me? Do you not like me?
This is the greatest show in Dubai, and you are the best presenter of...
We're going to quote that. Thanks a lot, Anto.
Thanks, Charles.